Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our Nityam Bhagavad Seva daily Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is reading class. I am Advaita Pran from ISKCON Newtown, Kolkata. So we are continuously reading Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. 15th chapter, the Purusottam Yoga. So today we'll start from slok number. I think I have to see the slok number. No problem. Seeing the slok number. So at first we'll recite the Mangalacharan, then we'll continue where we end the last sloka from today. We'll continue from the slok 15th chapter. So you can, I'm sharing my screen. You can see. Okay. So you can also recite the Mangalacharan with me. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manohishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vande Aham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Tam Sajivam साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमोऽयं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे हुकं करति वाचालं उल्लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुन्दिनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरं नमो हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्तो राधाकान्तो नमस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। So you can see Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. So we'll directly go to 15th chapter. There's the preface. Okay. The typing. The yoga of the Supreme Person. So can you say where we end yesterday? Anyone? कहाँ तक हम लोग खत्म किए कल?
We will start from 12 verse.
कितना?
We will start from 12 verse.
12 verse. Okay. So this is 12 verse. Please read this verse. Okay, I'm reading this verse. You just translate purport and read it, translate and purport. Okay. यद आदित्यगतं तेजो जगद्भासयते अखिलं यत् चन्द्रमसि यत् चग्नौ तत् तेजो विद्धि मामकम्. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation: the splendor of the sun which dissipates the darkness. Okay, Manorani Chittadevi Das, please read this.
Okay. The splendor of the sun, which dissipates the darkness of this whole world, comes from me. And the splendor of the moon and the splendor of fire are also from me. Purpose. The the unintelligent cannot understand how things are taking place, but one can begin to be established in knowledge by understanding what the Lord explains here. Everyone sees the sun, moon, fire, and electricity. One should simply try to understand that the splendors of the sun, the splendor of the moon, and the splendor of the electricity or fire are coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In such a conception of life, the beginning of Krishna consciousness, lies a great deal of advancement for the conditioned soul in this material world. The living entities are essentially the parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, and He is giving here with the hint how they can come back to body, back to home. From these words, we can understand that the sun is illuminating the whole solar system. There are different universe and solar systems, and there are different suns, moons, and planets also. But in each universe, there is only one sun. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 10.21, the moon is one of the stars. Nakshatam, nakshatanam aham sasi. Sunlight is due to the spiritual effulgence in the spiritual sky of the Supreme Lord. With the rise of the sun, the activities of human beings are set up. They set fire to prepare their foodstuff. They set fire to start the factories, etc. So many things are done with the help of fire. Therefore, sunrise, fire, and moonlight are so pleasing to the living entities. Without their help, no living entity can live. So, a living entity can live. So, if one can understand that the light and splendor of the sun, moon, and the fire are emanating from the Supreme Personality of God, Krishna, then once Krishna consciousness will begin. By the moon sign, all the vegetables are nourished. The moon sign is so pleasing that people can easily understand that they are living by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of God, Krishna. Without his mercy, there cannot be sun. Without his mercy, there cannot be moon. And without his mercy, there cannot be fire. And without the help of sun, moon, and fire, no one can live. These are some thoughts to provoke Krishna consciousness in the conditioned soul.
Okay, thank you for reading. Text 30. Gam avisya cha bhutani dharayami aham ojasa ushnami chaushadhi sarva soma bhutva rasatmaka. Translation: I enter into each planet, and by my energy, they stay in orbit. I become the moon and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables. Here Prabhupada said in purport that it is understood that all the planets are floating in the air only by the energy of the Lord. The Lord enters into every atom, every planet, and every living being. That is discussed in the Brahma Samhita. It is said there that one plenary portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Paramatma enters into the planets, the universe, the living entity, and even into the atom. So due to his entrance, everything is appropriately manifested. When the spirit soul is there, a living man can float on the water. But when the living spark is out of the body and the body is dead, the body sinks. Of course, when it is decomposed, it floats just like straw and other things. But as soon as the man is dead, he at once sinks in the water. Similarly, all these planets are floating in space. And this is due to the entrance of the supreme energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His energy is sustaining each planet, just like a handful of dust. If someone holds a handful of dust, there is no possibility of the dust falling. But if one throws it in the air, it will fall down. Similarly, these planets which are floating in the air are actually held in the fist of the universal form of the Supreme Lord. By the strength and energy, all moving and non-moving things stay in their place. It is said in the Vedic hymns that because of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the sun is shining and the planets are steadily moving. Were it not for him, all the planets would scatter like dust in air and perish. Similarly, it is due to the Supreme Personality of Godhead that the moon nourishes all vegetables. Due to the moon's influence, the vegetables become delicious. Without the moonshine, the vegetables can neither grow nor taste succulent. Human society is working, living comfortably, and enjoying food due to the supply from the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, mankind could not survive. The word Rasatmaka is very significant. Everything becomes palatable by the agency of the Supreme Lord through the influence of the moon. Text number 14. Please read, Swagatika Mataji. Hare Krishna. Please unmute yourself. Okay, I'm reading this verse. After you just read the purport and translation.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Aham vashvanaro bhutva praninam deham astrita pranapana samayukta pachami annam chaturvidam. Please read the translation and purport.
I am the fire of digestion in the bodies of all living entities, and I join with the air of life, outgoing and incoming, to digest the four kinds of foodstuff. Purport. According to Ayurvedic Shastra, we understand that there is a fire in the stomach which digests all food sent there. When the fire is not blazing, there is no hunger. And when the fire is in order, we become hungry. Sometimes when the fire is not going nicely, treatment is required. In any case, this fire is represent is representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vedic mantras Brat
Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 5.9.1
also confirm that the Supreme Lord or Brahman is situated in the form of the fire within the stomach, and it is digesting all kinds of foodstuff. I am Agnir Vasuvanaro Yo Yam Antaha.
I am Anta Puruse Yenedam Annam Pachyate.
Therefore, since he is helping the digestion of all kinds of foodstuff, the living entity is not independent in the eating process. Unless the Supreme Lord helps him in digesting, there is no possibility of eating. He thus produces and digests foodstuff, and by his grace, we are enjoying life. In the Vedanta Sutra 1.2.27, this is also confirmed. Sabdabhiyo Nataha.
Sabda Divya Anta Pratishtha Nacha. Pratishthananchacha. The Lord is situated.
The Lord is situated within the sound and within the body, within the air, and even within the stomach as the digestive force. There are four kinds of foodstuff.
some are allowed, some are chewed, some are licked up, and some are sucked. And he is the digestive force for all of them.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for reading. Text
Jai Shri
15.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. सर्वस्य चाहं हृदि सन्निविष्टो मत्तस्मृतिर्ज्ञानम् आपोहनं च वेदैश्च सर्वैरहमेव वेद्या वेदान्तकृद्वेद विदेव चाहम्. Manoharini Chittadevi Dasi, please read this translation and purport.
Translation. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Purport. The Supreme Lord is situated as Paramatma in everyone's heart, and it is from him that all activities are initiated. The living entity forgets everything of his past life, but he has to act according to the direction of the Supreme Lord, who is witness to all his work. Therefore, he begins his work according to his past deeds. Required knowledge is applied to him, and remembrance is given to him, and he forgets also about his past life. Thus, the Lord is not only all pervading, he is also localized in every individual heart. He awards the different fruitive results. He is worshipable not only as the impersonal Brahman, the supreme personality of Godhead, and the localized Paramatma, but as the form of the incarnation of the Vedas as well. The Vedas give the right direction to people so that they can properly mold their lives and come back to Godhead, back to whom. The Vedas offer knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And Krishna, in his incarnation of Vaishadeva, is the compiler of the Vedanta Sutra. The, the commentation of the Vedanta Sutra by Vasudeva in the Srimad Bhagavatam gives the real understanding of Vedanta Sutra. The Supreme Lord is so full that for the deliverance of the conditioned soul, he is supplier and digester of foodstuff, the witness of his activity, and the giver of knowledge in the form of the Vedas, and as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, the teacher of the Bhagavad Gita. He is worshipable by the conditioned soul. Thus, God is all good, God is all merciful. Anta Pravishta Sastra Sasta Janana. The living entity forgets as soon as he quits his present body, but he begins his work again, initiated by the Supreme Lord. Although he forgets, the Lord gives him the intelligence to renew his work where he ended his last life. So, not only does a living entity enjoy or suffer in this world according to the dictation from the Supreme Lord situated locally in the heart, but he receives the opportunity to understand the Vedas from him. If one is serious about understanding the Vedic knowledge, then Krishna gives the required intelligence. Why does he present the Vedic knowledge for understanding? Because a living entity individually needs to understand Krishna. Vedic literature confirms this. Yo sau sarve.
Yo aso sarvair vedair gyate.
In all Vedic literature, beginning from the four Vedas, Vedanta Sutra, and the Upanishad and Purans, the glories of the Supreme Lord are celebrated by performance of Vedic rituals, discussion of the Vedic philosophy, and worship of the Lord in devotional service. He is attained. Therefore, the purpose of the Vedas is to understand Krishna. The Vedas gives us direction by which to understand Krishna and the process of realizing re- realizing Him. The ultimate goal is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vedanta Sutra 1.1.4 confirms this in the following words that to someone Vayat, one can attain perfection in three stages. By understanding Vedic literature, one can understand his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By performing the different processes, one can approach him, and at the end of them, and at the end, one can attain the supreme goal, who is no other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In these words, the purpose of the Vedas, the understanding of the Vedas, and the goal of the Vedas are clearly defined. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you. Text 16. The imau purusau loke sharas chakshara evacha sha shara sarvani bhutani kutastho akshara uchyate. Translation: there are two classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible. In the material world, every living entity is fallible, and in the spiritual world, every living entity is called infallible. Purport: as already explained, the Lord in his incarnation as Vyasdeva compiled the Vedanta Sutra. Here the Lord is giving in summary the contents of the Vedanta Sutra. He says that the living entities who are innumerable can be divided into two classes, the fallible and the infallible. The living entities are eternally separated parts and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When they are in contact with the material world, they are called Jiva Bhuta, and the Sanskrit words given here, Kshara Sarvani Bhutani, mean that they are fallible. Those who are in oneness with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, are called infallible. Oneness does not mean that they have no individuality, but that there is no disunity. They are all agreeable to the purpose of the creation. Of course, in the spiritual world, there is no such thing as creation. But since the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as stated in the Vedanta Sutra, is the source of all emanations, that conception is explained. According to the statement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, there are two classes of living entities. The Vedas give evidence of this, so there is no doubt about it. The living entities who are struggling in this world with the mind and the five senses have their material bodies, which are changing as long as living entity is conditioned. His body changes due to contact with matter. Matter is changing, so the living entity appears to be changing. But in the spiritual world, the body is not made of matter, therefore, there is no change. In the material world, the living entity undergoes six changes: birth, growth, duration, reproduction, then dwindling, and vanishing. These are the changes of the material body. But in the spiritual world, the body does not change. There is no old age, there is no birth, there is no death. They all exist in oneness. Akshara Sarvani Bhutani, and any living entity who has come in contact with matter beginning from the first created beings, Brahma down to a small ant, is changing its body. Therefore, they are all fallible. In the spiritual world, however, they are always liberated in oneness. Text 17. Uttama Purusastav Anya Paramatma Miti Udahita Yo Lokatrayam Avisha Vibharti Avaya Ishvara. Translation: besides this two, there is the greatest living personality, the Supreme Soul, the imperishable Lord Himself, who has entered the three worlds and is maintaining them. Swagatika Mataji, please read this purport.
The idea of these verse is very nicely expressed in the Katha Upanishad 2.2.13.
And Sitasotar Upanishad 6.13.
It is clearly stated there that above the
Innumerable living
innumerable
entities,
entities, some of whom are conditioned and some of whom are liberated, there
there is the Supreme Personality who is Paramatma.
who is Prabhuji, there is a net problem.
Oh, network problem? Is it okay now?
No.
Your side or my side?
My side. And it's done. Who is
Okay.
Paramatma? The Upanishadic verse runs as follows. Nityo Nityanam
Chetanas
Santas
Chetananam.
Chetananam. The purport is that amongst all the living entities, both
And liberated.
conditioned and liberated, there is one supreme living personality, the supreme personality of Godhead, who maintains them and gives them all the facilities of enjoyment according to different work. That supreme personality of Godhead is situated in everyone's heart and Paramatma. A wise man who can understand him is eligible to act in perfect peace, not others.
Okay, thank you. This text 18. Yasmat Sharam Atito Aham Aksharat Api Chottama Ato Asmi Loke Vedecha Prathita Purusattama. Because I am transcendental beyond both the fallible and infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as the Supreme Person. Purport. No one can surpass the Supreme Personality of God at Krishna, neither the conditioned soul nor the liberated soul. He is therefore the greatest of personalities. Now it is clear here that the living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are individuals. The difference is that the living entities, either in the conditioned state or in the liberated state, cannot surpass in quantity the inconceivable potencies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is incorrect to think of the Supreme Lord and the living entities as being on the same level or equal in all respects. There is always the question of superiority and inferiority between their personalities. The word Uttama is very significant. No one can surpass the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The word Loke signifies in the Paurusa Agama, the Smriti scriptures, as confirmed in the Nirukti dictionary. Lokyate Vedartho Anena. The purpose of the Vedas is explained by the Smriti scriptures. The Supreme Lord in his localized aspect of Paramatma is also described in the Vedas themselves. The following verse appears in the Vedas, Chandogya Upanishad 8.12.3. Tavad Esha Samprasado Asmach Charirat Samuthaya Param Yoti Rupam Sampadya Swena Rupena Vinis Padyate Sa Uttama Purusa. The super soul coming out of the body enters the impersonal Brahma Yoti. Then in his form, he remains in his spiritual identity. That Supreme is called the Supreme Personality. This means that the Supreme Personality is exhibiting and diffusing this spiritual effulgence, which is the ultimate illumination. That Supreme Personality also has a localized aspect as Paramatma. By incarnating himself as the son of Satyavati and Parasar, he explains the Vedic knowledge as Vyasdeva. Text 19. Yomam evam asam mudho janati purusattamam Sa sarvavid bhajati mam sarvabhavena bharata. Please read this translation and purport. Manoharini Chittadevi Dasi.
Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is the knower of everything. He is therefore engaged himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. Purport. There are many philosophical speculations about the constitutional position of the living entities and the supreme absolute truth. Now, in this verse, the Supreme Personality of Godhead clearly explains that anyone who knows Lord Krishna to be the Supreme Personality is actually the knower of everything. In the imperfect knower goes on simply speculating about the absolute truth. But the perfect knower, without wasting his valuable time, engages directly in Krishna consciousness. The devotional service of the Supreme Lord throughout the whole Bhagavad Gita, this fact is being stressed at every step, and still there are so many stubborn commentators on Bhagavad Gita who consider the supreme absolute truth and the living entities to be one and the same. Vedic knowledge is called Shruti, learning by oral reception. One should actually receive the Vedic message from authorities like Krishna and his representatives. Here, Krishna distinguished everything very nicely, and one should hear from this source. Simply to hear, like the hogs, is not sufficient. One must be able to understand from the authorities. It is not that one should simply speculate academically. One should submissively hear from Bhagavad Gita that these living entities are always subordinate, subordinate to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone who is able to understand this according to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, knows the purpose of the Vedas. No one else knows the purpose of the Vedas. The word Bhajati is very significant. In many places, the word Bhajati is expressed in a relationship with the service of the Supreme Lord. If a person is engaged in full Krishna consciousness in the devotional service of the Lord, it is to be understood that he has understood all the Vedic knowledge. In the Vaishnava Parampara, it is said that if one is engaged in the devotional service of Krishna, then there is no need for any other spiritual process for understanding the Supreme Absolute Truth. He has already come to the point because he is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. He has ended all preliminary processes of understanding. But if anyone, after speculating for hundreds of thousands of lives, does not come to the point that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that one has to surrender there, all the speculations for so many years and lives is a useless waste of time. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you. Very important verse. And this is, I think, last verse, text number 20. You can see here. So we'll read the verse, text number 20. Iti gujjatamam shastram idam uktam maya nagha etad buddhava buddhimam shat krita krityascha bharata. Translation: this is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, O sinless one, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection. Purport: the Lord clearly explains here that this is the substance of all revealed scriptures, and one should understand this as it is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, one will become intelligent and perfect in transcendental knowledge. In other words, by understanding this philosophy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engaging in his transcendental service, everyone can become freed from all contaminations of the modes of material nature. Devotional service is a process of spiritual understanding. Wherever devotional service exists, the material contamination cannot coexist. Devotional service to the Lord and the Lord himself are one and the same because they are spiritual. Devotional service takes place within the internal energy of the Supreme Lord. The Lord is said to be the sun, and ignorance is called darkness. Where the sun is present, there is no question of darkness. Therefore, whenever devotional service is present under the proper guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, there is no question of ignorance. Everyone must take to this consciousness of Krishna and engage in devotional service to become intelligent and purified. Unless one comes to this point of understanding Krishna and engages in devotional service, however intelligent he may be in the estimation of some common man, is not perfectly intelligent. The word anaga, by which Arjuna is addressed, is significant. Anaga, O sinless one, means that unless one is free from all sinful reactions, it is very difficult to understand Krishna. One has to become free from all contamination, all sinful activities. Then he can understand. But devotional service is so pure and potent that once one is engaged in devotional service, he automatically comes to the stage of sinlessness. While one is performing devotional service in the association of pure devotees in full Krishna consciousness, there are certain things which require to be vanquished altogether. The most important thing one has to surmount is weakness of the heart. The first fall down is caused by the desire to lord it over material nature. Thus one gives up the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord. The second weakness of the heart is that one increases the propensity to lord it over material nature. He becomes attached to matter and the positions of matter. The problems of material existence are due to this weakness of the heart. In this chapter, the first 5 verses describe the process of freeing oneself from this weakness of heart, and the rest of the chapter from the 6th verse through the end discusses Purusottam Yoga. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, as it is in the matter of Purusottam Yoga, the yoga of the Supreme Person. So our 15th chapter, the yoga of the Purusottam, the yoga of the Supreme Person or Purusottam Yoga, end here. From tomorrow, we'll read Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, previously we read Srimad Bhagavatam continuously. So where we stop Srimad Bhagavatam, so after that we'll continue Bhagavatam, and so today we'll stop here. If anyone has any question or any doubts or queries, you can inquiry in our WhatsApp group, in message or voice message, anything. Okay. So today we'll stop here. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Udit Pavan Srila Guru Maharaj ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hare Hare.